Derpy Potatoes, it's Erenaroonie here, and welcome to the first ever podcast. This is Erenaroonie Rambles. And now we fade back into my actual voice, so I'm not voice acting the entire time. Hi everyone, it's Erin here, and I'm very excited to be doing this. This is the first ever podcast on this channel, which is something I plan to be doing more. We have guests for future episodes ready lined up, so I hope you guys enjoy. And with me today, I have two very good friends. My friends Renee and Alex.
And I'm Renee.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And we're very excited to be here today.
Absolutely. And also, Alex is a wonderful, wonderful artist who does things both digital and traditional. I didn't know how you say it. And you can follow them on...
My account is on Instagram. It's Alex Can't Do Art.
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
So definitely check them out. They do a lot of wonderful things, a lot of cool images and such. Or images, pictures. I'm all over the place. I'm so nervous. With this podcast, we will be definitely doing all kinds of things. We'll focus on movies, TV shows, cartoons, voice actors, obviously, since I am a voice actress. And whatever else comes to mind, really.
Entertainment news.
Absolutely. So, join the fun. Now, the first thing, since my channel is mostly comprised of Sonic the Hedgehog and video games in general, we're going to be talking about Detective Pikachu and the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie coming out. Now, go for it.
We're going to have some varied views because I have only ever played, Pokemon Snap, and Erin's much better at things than I am.
I've played Pokemon Stadium. That's it.
I've played Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon Moon, Pokemon Silver.
So Alex is the veteran Pokemon trainer.
I also found 12 Pokemon card decks in one of my boxes I was going through the other day.
Oh my gosh, really? Any valuables?
Probably. I had some rarer cards, like some foils and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I need to go back through them, but I have an entire tin box.
Yo, that's awesome.
So we have some varied views on that, so we're going to start off soft, we're going to build up.
Yes, the first thing
some intense stuff.
That I did want to bring up that I'm pretty sure that you both may or may not already know is the star of Detective Pikachu.
Deadpool himself.
As Pikachu. Ryan Reynolds, which is an interesting casting choice. But the other thing I wanted to bring up, I had to look this up because I was so confused. People were dead set on having Detective Pikachu played by Danny DeVito.
Oh my god.
Can someone explain to me where this comes from? It was like a meme or something?
I can explain it. Like I said, I've never done Pokemon. I've never played the game that it's based off of. I've seen the Pokemon animated movie where Ash dies and my soul died. And so I can explain this. So in the game in which the movie is going to be based, where a person can hear Detective Pikachu speak, he wears the little deerstalker Sherlock Holmes. He has a very, very gruff voice. Danny DeVito is known for having kind of that deeper tone, but also playing with it. He's a very, very good comedy actor, but he can also do serious stuff. He can also come off very dark. He played the Penguin in the Tim Burton Batman movies, but he's also in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he is hilarious. And he can really kind of chew the scenery, even just with his voice. And it was a pretty popular idea because of it. But I don't think Ryan Reynolds is a bad choice. He just has a much sweeter voice. I think coming out of a soft little Pikachu is going to make more sense. Mm-hmm. Unless you knew of the game, you heard the deep voice that Pikachu had in that. Mm-hmm.
If I might add, I think it's also a good, slow down, kind of like a good, what's the word? When you come out of one thing and into a transition for coming out of Deadpool, because it's such, risque movie, like it's such an adult thing, and he's doing this like children's movie almost.
I mean,
Not
he came out
children,
of
but-
Green Lantern into Deadpool really good, so I can see that.
And
Well,
it's like,
his Green Lantern was a rocky transition into going into Deadpool because that was his entrance into superhero-dom. Previously to that, he had been in rom-coms almost exclusively. The Proposal with Sandra Bullock, where he got to kiss Sandra Bullock. And like before that, like before he was even acting, he was like just a pretty face, like he was just a model. So he kind of just was like, went from pretty boy to pretty boy that gets to kiss pretty girls to really not awesome superhero startup from his point of view. He was very upset with what they were doing with him. He really didn't want the CGI suit. He felt ridiculous, and then everyone told him he looked ridiculous. And then he was like, nope, I'm going back. He had a small part in X-Men Origins Wolverine, where he got to play Wade Wilson, but they
scrapped it. Yeah.
They scrapped him, and he decided to take it into his own hands and make Deadpool the way he wanted to. And I think that just because how Deadpool is so freeing, because Deadpool is so much, that, you know, he can just walk into Detective Pikachu and be like, yeah, everyone's gonna know what I'm doing, everyone's gonna, you know, understand, like, that I can do whatever I want, basically. And it's pretty cool of him to do it, I think, in my opinion.
I think he did a great job with that. Like, when he first I didn't see Deadpool all the way, but I've seen the trailers. I want to.
If you would like to see it and you don't want to watch all them graphic sex scenes that they got, because that, I'm going to say, it's very uncomfortable. I'll close my eyes in the theaters.
Arena keeps it G.
But Deadpool, it's a recut of Deadpool 2 to make it PG, or PG-13. There's not even a single F-bomb, and it's very heavily joking with the Princess Bride, because they have Fred Savage, who plays the little boy, duct taped to a bed, and then Deadpool's like, I'm gonna tell you Deadpool 2, but I'm gonna make it PG, and it's hilarious.
That sounds
It's
hilarious.
also, it came out during Christmas. It's called...
It's like
Once Upon a Deadpool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Playing with the whole princess stories.
Yeah. Also, because of the Disney merger with Fox, they're
trying to make it more kid friendly.
Yeah, it's because Disney is why they're making it more kid friendly. And because of the merger itself, we're going to get X-Men, we're going to get Fantastic Four in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye. And we're going to get these people, you know, for the first time in, you know, what we consider, like, modern history. And it's this really big thing, and since Deadpool is one of the only Fox, you know, Marvel productions that has done so well, they are not going to do much with it. They're not going to take much away. They're not going to reboot it. So Ryan Reynolds might just be one of the only actors kept from the whole SWAT out. So Ryan Reynolds is kind of on top of the world right now.
Yeah.
He's
He did a good
doing
job
good.
with it. I also appreciated how he was able to, like, poke jokes at, say, the Green Lantern as well. Like, don't put me in a green suit, or however he said the line.
Don't make the super suit green.
Yeah, that. And I thought that was, you know, he knew that people did not like it, but, you know, he played around with it, and he had a good time with it. You can tell.
Yeah.
And then he brought that sort of same energy into Detective Pikachu, as you can see so far. So I'm really excited to see it, because this looks like, from the so much positive feedback from the video game community, which y'all know can be very picky with their...
Oh my god,
They are so picky. For example, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I love it. A lot of people hate it. The Mortal Kombat movie, people hate it. Street Fighter, I enjoyed it with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I enjoyed that one. So it's just like a pick and choose, but for once, there is a video game movie where, like, collectively, moviegoers and video gamers alike are all grouped together and saying, I can't wait to see this movie. and that has a really big impact for the video game community
It really
being transitioned.
I think if I may also put some input in, sorry. It's also kind of that nostalgia factor. A lot of us grew up with Pokemon, watching it on TV, playing the video games, collecting the cards, because those were a big thing. People our age, like, collected those cards. Like I said in the beginning, I still have all of mine. Like, it's just such a big nostalgia factor that's, whether or not it's a good movie, it's gonna be, like, good to us. Like, it's in our eyes, we're gonna love it.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just like an animated movie, it's a full-on live action, like there's actual
live
people.
action with CGI elements. It's reality augmented,
and that's a huge impact, and I'm just super excited to see that. And then alongside it, there's also been the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that's coming out. People are torn about the design. I personally have been following up with it since the beginning, since pre-production, and I'm going to see it through.
I have seen a couple of posters for it. I took my nephew to the Spider-Verse movie, and there was one very large poster for it in theaters. And my nephew does not know who Sonic is, so I tried to explain it to him. Basically, he just saw a blue person, and I had to explain what a hedgehog was, why this one was going fast, and why he was wearing shoes.
Oh, that is so cute.
If I also may say something just
yes,
funny, as you two know, not the audience, I work at a Sonic fast food place, and I have once said, "Hello, my name is Sonic. Welcome to Sonic." But it's not as bad as my friend and coworker who said, "Hi, welcome to Costco."
I'm afraid to work at like a Sonic because I know I'm freaking just gonna be there in the intercom, and I'm gonna be tired one day. I'm just gonna be like, "Hi, I'm Sonic. Welcome to Sonic." Just something in the intercom. I know something's gonna go down. That's why I want to work at a Chuck E. Cheese. It's like where a kid can be a kid. I can play around with that sort of stuff, but I'm worried for like an actual job. It's like something's gonna come out at some point.
Children will be delighted.
The parents, not so much. Honey, don't eat those chicken nuggets. I don't know what she put them in them, but I don't want you to turn out like her.
Suddenly they gain a SpongeBob voice. Can never go back.
You turn yellow.
The weirdest thing I've ever said, this is completely just off topic, and we'll try to get back off.
It's alright, go
on topic in just a moment. The weirdest thing I ever said to a customer on the intercom was, "Hello, welcome to the jungle."
It gets weirder every day.
And it haunts me. It haunts me every day of my life.
How did you recover from that?
I just turned off the intercom and was just like, just put my head in my hands, and I decided to die a little bit inside and then take their order. But yeah, I'll never recover. But let's get back on topic. What was the topic? Oh, I wanted to bring up something, actually.
Yes.
In the trailer for Detective Pikachu, I noticed something and actually looked it up because of it. When Ryan Reynolds is speaking to the main character can understand his human voice. It sounds like Ryan Reynolds. And when other people hear it, they hear Pika Pika. And apparently that's the actual original voice actress for Pikachu.
That's her. I recognize her right away.
They actually brought her in, and it's not a pre-recording, it's not anything like that. They actually brought her in to do it. Mm-hmm. So Pikachu has two voice actors, Deadpool and Pikachu. So I thought that was really cool.
That was a lot. I've seen years ago. I saw a clip of her on a talk show. I forget what it was. It was a talk show in Asia, and it was in a different language, but they had like the English subtitles. And she was talking with the show's host, and they're like, "So you're the voice of Pikachu?" It's like, "Yes." So can you do the voice? And like every time she just like perked up and did the little Pika Pika, and just like everyone just lost it. It was so freaking adorable because she's so cute and tiny, and it was just precious. And it's like you can see how much fun she's having with it. So I thought it was just like a really heartwarming moment to see. That's why I love seeing voice actors. I love to see them get into character. It's just like there's a sort of energy, like a lividity, the way they get into it, and it's so passionate, and it's an experience for them, and it's an experience for the people seeing it. So that's why I really enjoy it.
The only person I've ever particularly paid attention to that was a voice actor, or there are two people. Freddie Prinze Jr., who I have been in love with my entire life, just because it's Freddie Prinze Jr., but he voices two characters that I very much like in BioWare series. One's Mass Effect and one's Dragon Age. In Mass Effect 3, he voices James Vega, who is a very muscular, very buff, military, person. I can't remember his exact rank. He becomes an N7 in the game, but, he has this Spanish or Mexican inflection in his voice, and he says certain Spanish words. I'm very white, so I don't know what they mean, but
okay.
I'm sure you would, and from what I understand, he says them well. And the character he plays in Dragon Age Inquisitions is a giant horned warrior person with one eye, and they both have very different voices. I know what Freddie Prinze Jr. sounds like just in his normal day-to-day, because he also does just acting work. And then as, I think it's like Corporal James Vega or something, he has kind of, it's more human, but it's not Freddie Prinze Jr.'s voice. And then as the Iron Bull, he's playing it's almost an alien. It's a Kunari. It's completely, it's a giant person. It's an actual giant with horns, almost dragon-like. And, all these voices, I can't replicate them, but they're, really cool. And I have seen Freddie Prinze Jr. in, interviews, change the way he speaks, and his posture changes. His facial expression will change, and to fit the character. Because, when a person speaks, there's always a different inflection just because of who they are, the background, the way they even stand, and it changes the way people speak. And that's why I have a lot of respect for you, Erin.
Thank you.
Sorry for the tangent.
It is okay. One thing, though, that I did want to bring up about the Spanish, this cracks me up, and I'll explain why. Because you two know it. The audience doesn't. So I'm Mexican. If you could not already tell. I believe it was this winter of 2017, I decided I would do a karaoke cover song of Feliz Navidad for my YouTube channel. So I sang it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. One person commented, "That's racist." And I'm like, how? And then, no, this is the funny part. They go back. I didn't say I was Mexican. I just said, how? They go back. It's not racist. It's just I was laughing so hard at that. I speak some Spanish on my channel here and there, but ever since that, I've been kind of nervous to do another thing in Spanish. But just know that now that I've cleared the air, yes, I do speak Spanish. I am Mexican. I'm gonna be doing more stuff. And just know, no, it's not racist. I am speaking in my native language.
Exactly.
So that was something I had to bring
It
up.
shouldn't be racist to speak another language anyway, unless you're
Apparently.
making fun of it.
Exactly. It was a song. I was singing Merry Christmas in Spanish. Just it was rather funny to me.
Also, before I forget, if anyone listening doesn't know who Freddie Prinze Jr. is and doesn't want to Google it, you might know him as Fred from the live-action Scooby-Doo movies.
I love everything about that. I was going to make a reference to that because of that. If you do not know, because Fred plays Fred, which I thought was absolutely wonderful. But
Freddy plays a character named Freddy.
It's wonderful. And the thing about that is, in the live-action Scooby-Doo, Fred and Daphne are together, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Fred and Daphne are together in real life.
Yes, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who plays Buffy. Most people know her as, but she plays Daphne in the movie. That's his real-life wife.
And they're still together.
They are still together. One of my favorite things about those two people as a couple is, one, they both have 3 names. And 2, right as they, about a week after they got married, almost 2 weeks maybe, Freddie Prinze Jr. went on a podcast kind of like this. It was a radio show, more like. But the host basically was like, he said, "I give it a year," and he was
Oh.
very, very rude to his guest, and he was like, "Marriage never lasts. You guys are too young to get married. You don't know what young love is. You weren't together that long before you got married." And about 20 years later, Freddie Prinze Jr. tweeted a picture of himself and his loving wife to that radio host and said, "You lost the bet."
You lost the bet like 20 times over.
I have
actually.
to clap for that. That is gold.
It's one of my favorite things. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And they're a loving couple. They're both amazing people. And also, it's just really cool that Fred and Daphne are together in real life.
Mm-hmm. It warms my heart to see love like that.
Yeah.
That is the clock. I'll just cut the clock out.
Alrighty. Do you want to change topic?
Oh, right. Where were we at? We were at...
We talked
digressed.
a little.
Yes, we did. Oh, I have to make a reference about that. So, we're keeping the clock in because you said something. But I Digress is a podcast that I've been listening to recently. It is... You're probably going to laugh at me. That's fine. I take it full force. That podcast, I listened to one episode sometime in high school. And you're going to know why. Because in this one episode that I somehow clicked on, I think by accident, I don't remember. I clicked on it and then it just started going. Don't remember everything about it, but I clicked on the one episode, and that episode had Aaron Gould and Jason Griffith in it.
I don't want to laugh. I don't want to laugh.
So, for those of you guys who do not know this, obviously they are huge inspirations to me. Aaron Gould is the director of Casters, the web series on YouTube. You can check it out, as well as on Amazon Prime. I really highly say to check it out because, yeah.
I did one podcast with you before about Casters, which I haven't watched yet.
I have seen...
And I get every notification from you posting that on your Facebook page. Ever since.
So, yeah, Aaron Gould directed Casters, and Jason Griffith plays the main character in it. And he's also the voice actor. You guys will know this. He's the voice actor for Sonic the Hedgehog. Previously, he did Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Zero Gravity. He was Shadow, Sonic, and Jet the Hawk for a couple of years, which was really cool. But he had a huge impact. He's the reason I voice act today, one of the big reasons. And also one of the reasons I did the fan page for. I did the fan page of Casters, the web series. I'm not going to say where because it's embarrassing. Looking back on the pictures, I cringe, but I laughed my ass off. But the thing is, I did, years ago, I watched the episode. I listened to the podcast episode, and it was a lot of fun to listen to it. And then I listened to like one or two from all the way at the beginning. And then I stopped listening to it. And then one day, I'm just struggling, doing homework and all that. I can't find anything to listen to. I need to listen to something. I prefer to listen to people talking or something. And so I realized, oh, wait a minute, I still have that podcast. So I clicked on it, and I've been listening to a couple episodes every day. Or not every day, a couple episodes here and there. But I have really gotten into it, and it's the best decision I've made. And it's one of the reasons why I'm just like, you know what, I need to get back into the podcasting thing. I really wanted to get back into it. It was a lot of fun to do. So, yes, you have my permission to make fun of me now.
I don't want to. I love you. But you're mentioning the podcast thing. Your podcast name is I Digress? That you like to
But I Digress. That's
But I Digress.
Aaron Gould's podcast. And they had Jason on one episode. So,
Alex, do you listen to any podcasts?
Not really, because I'm more of a visual person. If I listen to any people talking, it's usually when I'm going to the radio. I listen to the radio while going to work in the morning, because I don't like just radio silence.
mm-hmm.
So I just listen, because very early in the morning they don't play a lot of music. They usually just talk about different things, and sometimes it's just like, oh yeah, there's this medical place that you don't have to have insurance to go to. Check it out.
All
And
right.
I'm just like, okay.
So,
Well, that's
I
my
listened
extent.
to an entirety of 3 podcasts. And I don't particularly even want to say 3 because 2 of them are from the McElroy brothers. McElroy.
I want to say Macklemore. I'm wrong.
The McElroy brothers are, if anyone knows who they are, they have a lot of different things. The 2 that I listen to are My Brother and Me, which is, it's a fake advice kind of show. They list off like Yahoo questions and then they answer them with answers that you shouldn't follow. As an example, it's like, what should I like to do if I'm afraid of swimming? And they just talk about how you shouldn't swim because there's a glass shark in the water, and yeah, that's an actual thing.
Oh my gosh.
And it's very funny to listen to them. They all have very unique voices. They're very funny. They have their family, so they have this very nice dynamic. They also have, with their father, they have a podcast called The Adventure Zone, which is their Dungeons and Dragons nights. Yeah.
Taco.
Yes, one of the characters' names is Taco, last name Taco.
Spelled differently?
Yes, first name Taako, last name Taaco. His name is just Taco.
And he also in that universe created tacos.
Yes, he is a cook. He's a wizard elf cook. But I also listen to a Dragon Age. Well, it's not necessarily only Dragon Age. They talk about video games as a whole, BioWare. It's called, the YouTube channel it's under, because it's a podcast on YouTube, is Gilder Thonglin, and I think it's called Codex Added. And those are the podcasts I listen to most often, but I'm going to be adding this one to the list. But now that we've stopped talking about Detective Pikachu, let's go on to our second topic.
But I digress. It is time to make the donuts. That's the thing that the host says from that podcast. And one thing I wanted to say, I was the only one. In that one episode that Jason was in, obviously there's the host Brock, there's Aaron, and then the other co-host Kathleen, and then there's Jason. Jason makes the reference to Pokemon with Brock's name.
That's immediately what I thought of.
I didn't think he would, but he did. And the response was the funniest freaking thing. So he's like, so is it a reference to Pokemon? It's like, no, it is not. And then Aaron's like, okay, no, it is not a reference to Pokemon. Hashtag, you dumb son of a bitch. just making fun. It was so freaking funny. I recommend that episode. I've listened to it a couple times because it just cracks me up, that part, and then a bunch of the other stuff that they talk about. It's just, oh my lord, I love it so much.
So we're going to move from Jason Griffith, one of your favorite entertainers, to, I'm going to ask Alex about one of his. Alex, Lin-Manuel Miranda. What are your thoughts?
I love the man. With my whole life, I would die for him.
Have you seen him in Mary Poppins Returns?
Not yet. My sister called me and asked if I wanted to go on New Year's Eve, but I had work, and I had actually, because she called me, I actually got called in an hour early, so I didn't get to watch it yet, but I'm very much looking forward to it.
Well, there is something that I wanted to bring up with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Now, ever since Hamilton, I finally, I got it. I listened to it. I loved it. But I follow a group, and there is rumors going on in said group that they are planning to make a Hamilton movie.
Yes. So Lin is totally down, from what I understand. He just kind of, they started asking him basically as he stepped off stage, and he was like, please let me do other things, but they've given him some time. He's done some other things, and it might be kind of up in the air again. He is actually going to be portraying Alexander Hamilton once again on stage for the Broadway, tour that they're doing for charity for Puerto Rico, because he's Puerto Rican.
I've heard about the Puerto Rico one.
And they're going to be going, they're going to tour. He's going to be Alexander Hamilton. All the proceeds will go to Puerto Rico. His father was directly from Puerto Rico. He's been many times, and it's going for that. And so he's been memorizing the lines again. And from what I understand, it might be a good time for him to, you know, not only just step back on stage, but maybe on set, maybe on screen, and to record on Broadway. If you just want to record on Broadway, it's a beautiful show. The turntables are excellent. Like, it's extraordinarily choreographed from what I understand. And if you just want to record what's on the stage, that's perfectly fine by me. I will buy that.
And that goes right into what I was going to ask. For the movie, I was imagining how they'd want to go about it. One thing, obviously, would they have the original cast from, like, say, Broadway with Lin-Manuel, or would they hold auditions for an entirely new, talented cast for this? And another thing is, would they record, say, like, the whole thing that you said, would record it on Broadway? Would they consider wanting to do that? Or do they plan on building, like, a full set to replicate all the events that occurred?
I personally don't know what they're planning, but I hope it does get turned into
like what would you like to see?
I would like to see a live action movie similar to how they did to Les Mis.
Mm-hmm. There are, however, different versions of Les Mis. That has to be clarified.
Yes.
Les Mis on BBC, as it airs basically this week, is not a musical. They do, on occasion, record them on stage. The 10th anniversary, the 25th. Sorry, I dropped my pen. The 10th anniversary, the 25th anniversary, I own on DVD that was just recorded on stage. But there's also a movie where they go to locations. They, sing in, cathedrals. They sing, but they do it outside. They do it, they get casts. It's set. It's very beautiful. And Les Mis is my particular favorite, especially for the movie adaptation, because they do it live as if they are doing it on Broadway, which is very nice. Alex?
Yes, I was going to say kind of like the one with Hugh Jackman.
The 2012.
Yes. I was going to say the way they did it live, that reminded me of the Grease, the musical live. That's what I was thinking of.
The live versions are my favorite. Because I cannot stand Grease the movie.
Which is something I grew up on.
I want to scream.
Because of the lip syncing.
The lip syncing
it's very
is
apparent with a lot of them.
particularly bad. But Grease Live, I love. There's, things like that. With Hamilton, my actual preference is that they keep it on stage. Because with Les Mis, there isn't choreography for the majority of the movie, whereas Hamilton is heavily based on choreography. There are people that represent bullets in the Battle of Yorkshire. There's, the turntables represent the changing of time. One particular given scene, it could represent someone's flashbacks, and it'll actually rewind the scenery so that someone else, someone can have a song at the same time as someone else, but they don't overlap.
So in a sense, it would kind of, if they would have to figure out a way to make that transition if they chose to do that way. But if they do, it kind of takes away that element.
Yeah, and there are people that represent settings within the choreography on stage. And it is, in my opinion, isn't a limitation. It adds so much. And I feel like if you take that away, it's going to be a sung documentary.
Well, it's understandable. There are also things that they could add to the movie, like certain effects that might also add to the storytelling, where something else has been taken away. And I do find the choreography quite beautiful. Like, from what I've seen of it, it's amazing. It's a wonderful way to tell the story. But there are certain aspects that I think would be really cool to see in a different adaptation.
I agree. There is one particular scene that if I could ever see it in, like, a movie where it's actually given effect, given, the kind of gravity it deserves, is the, spoiler alert, it happened 300 years ago, the death of Philip Hamilton. Because in the movie, it doesn't exactly have the same dramatas. I think that or in the play, I mean, that it doesn't have the same dramatas as I think a movie could.
It could be
obviously
paced, in a sense.
Obviously, they can't, even so much as bloody up Hamilton, or Philip Hamilton, because, the costumes that they're wearing, they have to wear the next show, things like that, but that would be a scene that I think would have more gravitas in a movie, whereas I think maybe the song, like, 10 Dual Commandments reprise at the end, I feel like should just stay on Broadway.
I personally think Hamilton's final song before he dies, where he's thinking back on his life, this is after he got shot. Mm-hmm. I think that song would be really cool in a movie because of the way they could slow things down and kind of have him like wandering around, looking looking at his life instead of just standing there having like he's having a flashback, but you don't get to see what he's seeing. Mm-hmm. I think that would be really cool because you could kind of merge in some of the other scenes and kind of have him I think it would make it more emotional.
Well, there was something that I had read, again, from that Hamilton group, and this was something that I really enjoyed the idea of, and they were saying, this was before the whole idea of the movie came out, was if they do ever do a Hamilton movie, they have the whole cast and all that, and then during the final song, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story, the way the person had wrote it was, it fast forward to current day, and it's Lin-Manuel Miranda walking through, say, a museum and looking at Alexander Hamilton's picture or portrait, and he gets the idea. And I thought that would be like a scream to everyone, a scream to the theater fanatics, to the musical fanatics, to the historical events. I think that would be a great way to tie in all that, like a little Easter egg for everyone.
Absolutely. And that sounds beautiful. But Lin-Manuel Miranda did not get inspiration by looking at a portrait. He read a biography.
Oh, it was something that he did.
And it was
something about Alexander Hamilton, but it would be cool if they brought that into it. Instead of him walking through a museum, it could be him going into a bookstore and opening the book.
It was something like that. Yeah.
From what I understand, he bought the book in an airport.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's very open about that. Didn't mean to step on your
oh, no, it's okay.
I think that would be a really cool idea, though, in that final moment, just the ending of it. It's like those, kind of like, dare I say, Shrek when they start the movie and it's with him opening a book.
Yes.
Instead, it's him opening it at the end to reference how now we're going back and telling the story of a president that almost got taken off of a $10 bill because people didn't think he was important enough.
Yes. And with it, if they do it as a movie in setting instead of on stage, it will be completely and utterly anachronistic. It will not match history, because that's the point. First of all, Alexander Hamilton might never have sung that little ditty in his life. Mm-hmm. We don't know, obviously. And if Lin-Manuel Miranda plays him, Alexander Hamilton was not Puerto Rican. And the thing is, I don't want them to cast a white person for anyone. I
enjoyed the way they had it. They just made it.
It's the
wonderful.
It's the point. Mm-hmm. King George is one of the only white characters, and that's the point. It's not historically accurate because it's not him reading you the biography he read. It is Alexander Hamilton's going to rap, and that's fine. And I think that his casting should stay the way it is. If you're not going to bring back the original Broadway, cast that did the original recordings and the original performances, continue having people of color and have it completely blind, because Angelica Schuyler is played by an African American woman, whereas Elizabeth Schuyler is played by, I think she's Chinese, Philippe Sue, and that's beautiful. No one questions it because it's, first of all, Alexander Hamilton rap. So it should be completely anachronistic, should have no bias.
It's purely on the talent of the people.
It is, but also they purposefully don't cast white people. They purposefully do cast, minorities because
it's very hard. It's especially in the theater world. there's a lot of bias towards people of minority.
And I read the same thing about that with musicals for females who are altos. It is very hard for them to get like a lead.
It really is, because there's so many parts are written for soprano parts.
And cough, cough, Cosette.
And like, it's to think that every woman has a voice that can go that high, like
not everyone's a lark.
Or even for men, it's you don't hear as many basses either. Which is weird because there's so many men that have basses. There's so many tenor parts though, and men have. While there are men that are very good at hitting high notes, that I know men that can hit soprano notes better than any soprano that was in my choir, but there were so few tenors. When I was in choir, I was a tenor 1 and tenor 2, but I was the only one that could hit the high notes, and there were only like 4 or 5 of us depending on the year, and the bass section was full of them. But when you get into the plays and musicals, so many parts are tenor. It's like they cater to the higher voices, and it's just peculiar because there's so many people with such lower voice and such diversity in voice range, but they only cater to like this one section.
It's very interesting, but that's what one of the things I really appreciate about Hamilton is they give people they give them a chance, and that's what I liked about it.
Speaking of the altos, someone I follow on Instagram, I need to look her up real quickly because I adore her. She's actually in one of the Hamilton travel groups. Wow. Her name is. Hold on.
Well, as you're speaking in that real quick, there was another thing, was the casting. Now, on the theatrical version, they have the person who plays Lafayette also plays Thomas Jefferson.
Yes. It also, John Lawrence is also Philip Hamilton. Peggy is also Mariah Reynolds. It's on purpose because in the very opening song, one actor, one person portraying these two characters will have a line, and that line means two different things. The actor that plays Philip at the time, or Lawrence, says, "I died for him." Both Philip and Lawrence kind of died for Hamilton. They both loved him. They were both very good, friends and family. Funny thing is, John Lawrence is not, or Philip Hamilton, I meant to say, is not the child Alexander Hamilton named after John Lawrence. I think it was either his second son, or one of his children was, he had 2 sons named Philip, and then he had a son named John, because John Lawrence was Alexander Hamilton's closest friend.
And you were saying that.
Okay. So I just found her. Her name is Nyla. Her name is Nyla Nana on Instagram. She is from the Hamilton Philip Company Tour, and she plays Mariah and Peggy. She also makes her own music. She posts about her life because she was born in Brooklyn and how she got to where she is now. She actually does live videos sometimes answering questions people have about the musical and how she came to be a part of it, because she just went to this random audition for it, and people they liked her, and so she got more auditions, and she's met Lin-Manuel Miranda.
That is cool.
And so she does a beautiful job with it, and she talks about how because she has a natural afro and one dreadlock, and they let her keep her her lock, and it just adds to the character, and it's just, she has so much charisma, and she's just has such a wonderful voice, and she's actually an alto. And so it just makes me really happy that you brought that up. That's what reminded me of it. But she can do the higher parts, but she can also do the lower parts. And so
Peggy has more of a childlike voice, whereas Mariah Reynolds is given some deeper voice inflections. I don't want to get into that because I don't know the rating of this, but yeah, Mariah Reynolds.
Coming back to Lin-Manuel Miranda to close up this topic, he is in the new Mary Poppins movie, and I know people want to, I know that it's really popular, people are saying it's really good, but I cannot get myself to want to watch it, because the original Mary Poppins, it's not because the original's better, I don't mind, I went to go see, I saw the Jungle Book, and I saw the Beauty and the Beast in theaters, and I thought they were really cool. And, you know, it's like, well, they're doing Mary Poppins as well. They just did Winnie the Pooh. I want to see that one too. Ooh. But it's just like, Mary Poppins I cannot do. Because, I still have this, and it is the strangest thing. People might make fun of me if this, whatever. It is the strangest occurrence. Whenever I get to the ending of the original Mary Poppins, I will cry. Like, just emotionally pain, drain, cry. And I don't know why, but it's every single time I've watched it. And it's even stranger that even occurred while I was sleeping. And it was this one dream I had where I was in my aunt's room or something, but I was in a Mary Poppins, her white dress from the Chalk World. And I was wearing her white dress, and it was beautiful. And then I woke up, tears were already streaming down my eyes. I'm like, what is going on? It is the strangest occurrence, and I'm afraid to put myself through that with the new Mary Poppins. Because I have no idea how this new one is going to be like.
It's, from what I understand, I've only seen trailers. Mary Poppins returns. The children are now adults. They have their own children. Mm-hmm. She's
I've seen the
an
trailer.
immortal nanny. And I desperately want to see it because Dick Van Dyke is in it. And I just adore that man. I personally have to see it. I understand what you mean with the
I do want to see it, but I just can't.
There is a children's movie that does that to me as well, but it's Peter Pan. Mm-hmm. I don't like the ending of Peter Pan at all. I think it's really weird. I don't like any Peter Pan movie following it. Mm-hmm. I don't like when Wendy grows up. I don't know why. It just hurts. Mm-hmm. And it just I can't sit through it, so I understand what you mean. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts before we change topic?
While we're on the topic, is there any movie, if you feel comfortable talking about it, is there any movie that you feel really emotionally to?
Anytime anyone asks me anything about movies, I completely forget all movies I've
ever
watched.
It is okay.
But there is this one movie, if you don't mind, called Penelope.
Is that the Christina Ricci?
What was it?
Christina Ricci?
I don't know actresses' names. I watched it when I was young with my little sister. And it's basically she was born with a curse because she was the first girl born in this line of people who wronged this one lady because she looked different. And so she was born with a pig's snout.
Yep, that's Christina Ricci. For people who don't know, Christina Ricci is the actress who plays Wednesday Addams. She plays what's her name? Cat from Casper, so that's who it is.
Her love interest, who eventually lifts the curse, is Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor.
And he's also Christopher Robin.
He is Christopher Robin. He is also the candelabra, I can never remember his name, from Lumiere from the live-action Beauty and the Beast. Love him.
Yeah, that movie always...
By the way, I have never seen it.
Penelope?
Yes,
I haven't either, but I knew the actress.
My ex-boyfriend liked it so much, he basically told me every detail about it, showed me a few clips here and there, some pictures, and just absolutely adored it. He was a very quiet person, so whenever he would talk about anything, I would listen very aptly, so I know everything about that movie.
It is a good movie. It's very interesting. I watched it when I was young, so it was very emotional to see someone treated so poorly where they are and having to hide that. And I guess I related to having to hide a part of myself for so long. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of just brought such an emotional state to me.
Mm. And that was another thing. If you guys know, I had gone through a really hard time. It was hard to get myself back up after last year. And there was a show, and I probably mentioned it once or twice, that got me out of that. And that was The Office. And the significance about it is it made me believe in love again. However, every time, it made me laugh like crazy, but I can't get myself to go back in and watch it all again. Which is weird because people say it's such a rewatchable show. Like, I want to do it, but it's just like, there's so much.
You have such an emotional tie to it now.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of be right, like, in the same mindset.
Mm-hmm. But, like, The Office helped me really just feel like, it is possible. And the same thing with, if you guys watch Steven Universe, the whole marriage, I thought, oh my lord, it's just, there are people who are meant to just be together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it really does, it was hard at first because of all the stuff that's going on in life, but it's just like, there is true love out there. You just gotta be open to it.
Yeah. My feel-good show, I think, is Legends of Tomorrow. There is not one single episode of that show that I will not watch, and I am someone with a severe and completely and utterly irrational fear of zombies. Anyone that's ever seen Legends of Tomorrow will know that there is one episode entirely based around zombies, and I rewatch it. And it's a feel-good episode. I look away, I plug my ears,
Which is fine.
and I can't watch it alone, but I love that show so much, and it makes me feel so good overall that I watch season 2, episode 4, Abominations, over and over again. But really quickly, before I forget, there's 2 things I wanted to say.
Yes.
A show I will not rewatch, just as that topic is brought up, but that I do love, Merlin.
Oh, yes.
I actually have never seen the last season of Merlin. I was spoiled for it, and I cannot watch the last season. I will not watch the last season. Shh. Okay? And also, I stopped watching Smallville because I became so incredibly invested in Lex Luthor, I decided to turn it off and pretend that they stay friends forever. Shush.
Fox and the Hound sort of thing.
Uh-huh. It's like, I know what happens at the end, but if you pause the movie halfway through and don't continue watching, it's happy. If you stop watching Smallville before, they start having troubles in paradise, it's a happy show.
Mm-hmm.
It's the, what's the word we learned about it in our theater classes? It's dramatic irony.
Yes.
Where the audience knows what's going to happen before the character.
Mm-hmm.
A perfect example is Anne Frank.
The same thing with Hamilton as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything that's historically based, it usually happens.
Yeah. With Hamilton, really quickly, I was going to bring up A Knight's Tale, because it's also set in a time period, but it's completely anachronistic too.
We will.
Exactly.
I've never seen it, but I know that.
That's the first scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 1770s set, hundreds of years ago. Like, I'm not necessarily sure it's 1770. Might be much further back than that. But it's medieval jousting, and they sing a Queen song in the opening sequence. And I don't mean it's just in the soundtrack. It is the audience watching a jousting match, doing the boom boom clap, singing it, and it's beautiful. And I think Hamilton should go on that same line of,
Excuse me.
oh yeah, it's going to be, dressed in the petticoats, going to be, wearing, all the right clothing except wigs, because no one needs that mess. And also hair represents who a character is and also the time period in which it's set. So it's cool like that. And I think if they do a movie, I think they should take kind of a big cue from A Knight's Tale, which I forced my boyfriend to watch last night.
Good first time watch.
Yes.
First time watch. I might as well bring it up. Oh wait, hold up 1 second. Okay, we're still going. Real quick, I mentioned this on my Twitter. You guys probably seen it. For those of you who follow my Twitter, I watched on Christmas Eve for the first time in my life Rocky.
Oh,
I loved it so much that we watched up to 4, and then my dad cut me off because he says that number 5 is so emotionally draining that he cannot watch it. He says I have to watch it on my own. It's that much. It's like, damn, don't really want to see what happens. But he told me what happens, and it's like, so I already told you what happens. You can skip to 6 already, where everything's back to normal. He says number 5 shouldn't have been made. It's like, oof, and it's like, but still, do I want to see the full sequence of what happens?
If I may bring it up on emotionally draining movies that fathers don't want to watch. My family watched Coco for the first time.
Oh my lord!
And they'd been they just never got a chance where the whole family was there. And I got home late on Christmas Eve from visiting my aunt, and my parents put it on. And I was like, I need to go to bed. I've been up since like 0 o'clock in the morning. So, but the thing is, we watched it. I stayed up to watch it with them, and my dad was so frustrated that it was so sad. But it was such a good movie, and I don't think he'll watch it again. But it was just nice seeing him actually enjoy something like that, because he's not always an emotional person. He pretends not to be an emotional person. But yeah, like you said, your dad was just like, nope, I'm not watching. You can watch that by yourself. Mm-hmm. It's very much the same.
By the way, while we're talking about how soft Alex's father sometimes is, I want to mention this is the same man that once described seeing a dead body in the backseat of a trunk, because that's his job, not because he's a serial killer. He's a CSI. But,
okay, just clarify, CSI.
He once described to me, straight-faced, seeing a, dismantled corpse in the back trunk, and he cries during Coco, so that's how that movie works, okay?
Also, he refuses to watch Marley and Me, which is a good idea.
I can't.
Oh my god, if you haven't watched it, please don't. It is emotionally draining. The dog does die. Spoiler alert.
Fun fact. I mentioned Legends of Tomorrow is my very favorite show. One of the actors in that show, his name is Nick Zano. He plays Citizen Steel. I don't care that they only call him Steel in the show. I call him Citizen Steel. That is who he's based off in comic books. And he was in an interview, and they asked him if he's ever walked out of a film. And he said, I realized what was going to happen during Marley and Me, so I left the theater. And I respect him for that. I respect and agree.
The Coco, there was one thing that I wanted to add on there. They were saying, jokingly, there's going to be a Coco too, but jokingly. And it was like, you know what? I can see it. And I'll tell you where I would go if they do make a Coco 2. They mentioned La Llorona in the music. Mm-hmm. And I love La Llorona, obviously. I know the legend. And I think that would be a great way to do a sequel for Coco. Because they just mention the song. They don't tell the story of La Llorona. And Miguelito is a little kid still. What if they bring the aspect of La Llorona not being able to enter the afterlife? Because let me explain real quick La Llorona. La Llorona is a Hispanic urban legend of a woman who was very beautiful, and she had children, and there's many ways this story goes, but her husband or man rejects her because she has kids, and so she drowns the kids in the river. And then when she dies, God rejects her from going to heaven, saying, you need to find their souls. You cannot enter because of this deed that you've done. And so she wanders around the river trying to find her own kids, screaming, ¿Dónde están mis hijos? Which translates to, where are my children? She cannot enter heaven, and so she takes kids who are out late at night or who are not there. She also wails, and the wail is a sign of death in Mexico. And
like the
banshee.
Irish banshee, yeah.
Yes, that's basically the Hispanic version of La Llorona. And
really quickly, why is there always mythology about screaming women?
I guess it's often.
Also, there's something called A Woman in White, which is women who drown their children.
Yep, she's similar. It's like a combination of all three of them.
There's
Why do so many cultures just have this woman?
Because
it's interesting.
Because in The Women in White, there's multiple of them, because it's not just one occurrence. It happens, unfortunately, in many situations if a woman can't take care of her children, or she forgets that, sometimes a woman will leave the bathroom and her children will be in the bathtub, and she'll come back and they'll have drowned. Mm-hmm. So it's not always purposeful, like in the river.
Yeah,
but
drowning in general. So
this is heavy.
Going back to the whole point of the Llorona, what I was thinking is they had the whole thing where he can't go exit the spirit world into the human world, and then couldn't get back in or whatever. What if La Llorona can't get back into the spirit world? And so they make this whole connection between the two, with Coco in the spirit world and then Llorona inside the human world cannot leave. So that was an idea that I had thought of. I don't know if they'd ever really go with it because, like I said, they just mentioned La Llorona, but they didn't actually, they just sang the song. They didn't say what she was, and I think that would be a great way to do a sequel for it.
They could also do it in a more kid-friendly way like Disney does. Like, they'll take very gruesome stories and make them very happy.
Oh, yeah, I've seen a kid's version of La Llorona before.
And I can see them doing it like Miguel makes a song, like, is singing the song, telling the story maybe to his little sibling that was born, we see at the end of the movie, and is maybe being like, oh, maybe I won't say she murdered them. She lost her children in a river, and now she spent eternity looking for them.
And, like, it can make a connection because he's the only human to go into the spirit world without being dead. Yeah. She could probably be like, oh, you know, help me do this. But she ends up, like... And
it could be start off with him telling the story, maybe, and then go into he actually sees it. Because now he has this connection to the afterlife. You
hear that, Dizzy? We're the screenwriters for Coco 2.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, we went from Detective Pikachu to Hamilton to Coco 2 theories.
That would be amazing to see. If they ever not do that, I would make a fan story of it, and we could definitely work on that.
And voice actors, artist.
Hey, yeah.
And then I'm just here.
You were right.
I am also here. But now that we've brought up both Deadpool early on when talking about Renee and Reynolds and theories, can we talk about Marvel theories now?
Yes, we can. We will. As you guys may have seen, the new trailer has come for Endgame.
So obviously there's heavy spoiler alert if you have not watched the last few Marvel movies to have come out.
And by few, he does mean 22. So.
Yes. The last several that have come out in the past year.
Yes. They're... So, if you haven't seen the kind of, what's the word for it? Moment, just...
Tune out now.
Tune out.
Come back later.
We're going to be mentioning the ends of that movie really quickly. The end. If our theories happen to be right for Endgame, then consider it a spoiler.
There's a theory real quick before I forget. Detective Pikachu. I'm calling it out right now. I've called it out on Twitter. I called it out on everything else. I freaking say it right now. Jigglypuff is the bad guy. That face of that little fricker in the video is terrifying.
But also Jigglypuff, I love you. Thank you. To just accentuate my point. Yes. So let's kind of ease our way into Avengers. Erin, tell me your favorite superhero. Tell me your favorite Avenger.
My favorite Avenger. Oh boy. Well, I always said that it was Hulk, and it's even more now because of Bruce Banner. I really like him. I really like Mark Ruffalo. He's really cute. But now, I made a mistake with my mom, and I'll explain why. But first, let me just say, Spider-Man. I liked Spider-Man a little bit. I got into it a little bit more, and I am into it again as with the new actor, Tom Holland, which is really cool. I really enjoyed his take on Spider-Man. Now, let me tell you about mistake. So, we're watching Infinity War again. And my mom and I were sitting there, and we paused it when he was on the bus. And my dad walks away, and I'm just like geeking. I love this new Spider-Man that we have. And I'm like, and I was obviously making reference to, what was his name? Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield, but mostly Tobey Maguire. I liked his Spider-Man, but this is the best Spider-Man I've ever seen film-wise. I also enjoyed Drake Bell's animated Spider-Man. But this was my favorite Spider-Man so far, was Tom Holland. And I had said, this is the best Spider-Man I've ever had. And my mom looks at me. She's like, what do you mean you've had? And I'm like, what do you mean? This is the best Spider-Man that I've ever seen. It's like, no, you said it like you've had him. I'm like, no! It was, and we went on for like a solid 10 minutes. It's like, look at you freaking, are you going out with Spider-Man now? Like, Mom, no! And we just kept going on and on. My dad comes back from the room and he's like, did you hear your daughter? It's like, no. It's like, tell him what you said. I'm like, I said this is the best Spider-Man I've ever had. My dad's just like, okay. And then she's like, no, you did not hear what she just said. It's like, I'm not helping anyone. So it was just really bad. It was just a whole thing. So, yes.
Whole thing.
Spider-Man and Hulk, everybody. My favorites.
Alexander?
Okay, my favorite Avenger has always been the Black Widow. Love her. My favorite super in Marvel is Deadpool.
Deadpool is an Avenger associate. He's Avenger parallel. Sometimes he gets a little pass key to get into Avengers headquarters, and he misuses it.
Like he does
I mean, I know that X-Men was separate, so that's why I didn't say it, but from the X-Men universe, I have to say my favorite is Nightcrawler. I love him so much!
The
Blue
Marvel
skin,
licensed by
yellow
Fox. Yes. My favorite Avenger, my favorite superhero, my favorite member of the Justice League is Clint Barton as Hawkeye. I'm wearing a shirt that I bought, not because it has the Avengers on it, but because it is one of the only things I can find with Hawkeye on it. Because the world done doing him wrong.
There was one
amazing
shirt that I found, and I sent you a picture of this shirt. I wanted to get it so bad, but it was just like, it's too small. But, oh my lord, it was a purple shirt with a purple Hawkeye on it.
Oof. I adore Hawkeye. I love Clint Barton. And I do have to clarify that, yes, I do mean the Clint Barton version of Hawkeye. I once tried to tell someone that I liked Hawkeye, and they rolled their eyes at me and thought I meant the girl version. I'm doing this with air quotes. Because, yeah, Kate Bishop is also someone with the alias Hawkeye within the comic book universe. And, like, she's fine. I like her. She's cool. But he only said this because I'm a girl, and that rubs me very wrong. Hawkeye's my favorite because Hawkeye, everyone kind of has their favorite because they connect to that person. Spider-Man is one of the world's favorite people, one of the world's favorite supers, because he's meant to be. He's an everyman. He's just someone who doesn't have to do something good. And he just chooses to, at the expense of his own life. Like, he doesn't do this for honor or glory. He doesn't do this for anyone else. Like, he wears a mask because he's so scared half the time. And most of the time he's just this little kid going out there doing something good because he has the power to. And if he doesn't, that means basically he's the one doing wrong. And, there's everyone out there can understand wanting to help someone else. It's just compassion. It's just empathy. And, Spider-Man is a wonderful, wonderful superhero. And then there are characters like, Deadpool, who, I don't know, he's an anti-hero. Maybe he's not doing everything right. Someone can understand that. Like, not everyone's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. But, there's still a good guy at the end of the day. With the Hulk, there's two facets of that personality. There's the nice guy, Bruce Banner, who is just living his little sciencey life, and then sometimes he has this other guy. And, the Hulk doesn't have any malicious intentions. He just is there, and he's very big, and he likes the sound that things that break make. Also puppies. Hulk very much likes puppies.
And Spider-Man.
Hulk and Spider-Man are very good
Thor
friends.
as well.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yes, Hulk and Thor are very good friends. Even though the Thor was created to, basically win Hulk in a fight. What's stronger than the strongest man alive? A god. This has nothing to do with Avengers Endgame theories, so let's get into that because I want to.
You never even finished your spiel about Hawkeye.
You guys shouldn't let me continue. My spiel about Hawkeye, let's lead it into my Avengers Endgame theory. In Infinity War, I dressed up as Hawkeye. Went to the theaters opening night, sat, there with my family, who I brought everyone with me. And, I was wearing a shirt that I bought because Hawkeye was on it. He was small and he was in the background, but he was on it, and that's all I can hope for. I was also wearing a jacket that Alexander here bought for me. That's basically Hawkeye's vest. And, it's that design. It's like I'm dressed up like Hawkeye, and he's name dropped, and that's it. I was so angry. But they lost. Spoilers, like we said, spoilers for Infinity War. The Avengers lost. Thanos wins. And that happens to be the only Avengers movie that Hawkeye's not in. So, they don't bring Clint Barton to the party, they lose. And he's so far been in the trailer for Endgame. And guess what? I have a theory. I have a theory that they win. Maybe those two are connected. I'm not sure. Not to downplay Captain Marvel.
Not only that, but Doctor Strange says it's the only way.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not only that, but what was it? The whole thing with Ant-Man, if you guys noticed it or not, they had Ant-Man and Hulk in the trailer, but they weren't there in the movie.
Yeah. Hulk makes an appearance in the very beginning.
Basically a cameo.
He makes a cameo. He kind of, you hear him bicker with Banner. But they do trick us in the trailer, so maybe whatever theories that we can come up with based off the trailer of Endgame are wrong, because we know Marvel will just play us. We know Marvel will just lie, because there are scenes in that trailer, for Infinity War that just don't exist. So we got played, but
just a little bit.
If I go into Avengers Endgame and once again Hawkeye's not in it, I'm going to scream.
Especially with all the dare I say, the Ronin stuff that's already being dropped in the trailers, that's already been spotted by some spoiled leaks.
Yes.
We got played more than that video game group was playing in the spaceship.
Yes. That's what I got.
He's playing out.
But, yeah. Clint Barton. Anyone that ever caught, in listening to this, that is caught, that I mentioned my favorite member of the Justice League is Clint Barton or Hawkeye, that's not wrong. Look it up. He's the only fictional character in history to be both an Avenger and a member of the Justice League. He has no superpowers, he is canonically disabled, and he just uses a bow and arrow most of the time. As Ronin, we've mentioned, he uses a sword. He has also been Goliath, but none of that's exactly a superhero. He was using pink particles at the time.
If I remember correctly.
Exactly. He was also Captain America. Doesn't have a super serum or anything. He's just Captain America because he was trained by Captain America, and he just works so hard that he can match that level of superhero. My brother makes fun of me very often for choosing a character to like just because no one else likes them. That's not the case. If you ask me my favorite member of the X-Men, it's Colossus. No, it's not. Cyclops. I meant to say Cyclops. They just got confused in my head.
You hate Scott.
I do hate Scummers. Ooh. Freudian slip. I do think he's a scummy guy.
Proves that you're Wolverine. You're a dick.
All right. And
I'm glad you caught on to that.
I agree. I don't like characters because no one else likes them. I genuinely hope after Endgame and after having such an important role as a member of the first Avengers group, as an original 6 member, that people will walk out and I can finally ask someone who's your favorite superhero and the answer will be Hawkeye. I genuinely hope that. I like Hawkeye because there's a Matt Fraction comic book, the first panel, he's falling from a building and he doesn't have superheroing. He's can't regenerate limbs. Like, he's not Hulk. You can literally kill him and he's just gonna pop back up because you can't kill the Hulk. Maybe you can kill Banner, but even then Banner's gonna wake up in a week. But with Hawkeye, he's got a bow, he's got an arrow, and if he falls from a building, a lot of bad luck. And if he falls from a building, it looks bad for him. And in the Matt Fraction, just one panel comic book page, he grew up, a lot of people don't know this, he grew up in a circus. He's just like a carny, and he doesn't have superpowers, he doesn't have super healing, he doesn't have super strength, he doesn't have even so much as the Black Widow, which a lot of people don't know. Black Widow is physically enhanced. And I don't just mean her curves, I mean she's partially bionic. She has a version of the super soldier serum because of the Red Room. They don't just remove some innards of her, they put some pits in too. she's not regular. And Hawkeye just is. And he just works, and he just tries so hard that he's an Avenger. He's that level, and it's not, oh, he's the backup Avenger. No. He's the Avenger that if they don't have him in the team, they lose. And I genuinely adore this character. There's also, like I said, a separate Hawkeye. Her name is Kate Bishop within the comic books. This isn't an MCU, but I do have a theory that she might show up. But, you know, she asks him how he can make shots that are physically impossible to make. And he says, because there is no alternative. If I miss the shot, there's no alternative. There's just losing, and we can't do that because half the time when we fight as, you know, the Avengers, losing means, like, Thanos, snap, half the universe is gone.
Which you can pull the, I can't, like, how do you make an impossible shot? Well, it's the only choice.
Exactly.
But you could pull that into there's one shot. There's one timeline where they win.
Exactly.
Out of
And not
14
only that,
million.
Chris Evans, Captain America is like, and if it doesn't win, it has to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like,
this is gonna work, I know, because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't.
Yeah.
like, you can't win a fight with a bunch of people who think, well, if it's not possible, it's
this
not
is
possible.
the plan B, this is the backup plan. Hawkeye doesn't go in with a backup plan because there is no backup plan.
Like, you can't go into a fight with people who think, well, I'll have multiple chances at this. No. There's one chance. There's one now.
There's one snap.
Exactly. You can't go back. You can't turn back the time. Because
Hawkeye doesn't have a time stone.
Mm-hmm. You have to go into a fight with someone who will be like, no, we're going to win. Because you can't have someone bringing the team... Like, it's even from a positivity standpoint. You can't have somebody bringing the team down saying, well, we can't win. There's 14 million blah, 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 blah chances where we don't win, and there's one that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people join the lottery, and there's chances worse than that. Like...
Yeah. Like, okay, we keep saying we're going to bring up theories, and it's just me talking about how much I like Hawkeye. This is official news, there is a casting for, I can't remember the actress's name, anyone that watches Netflix's 13 Reasons Why, she plays the dead girl ghost, I think.
Oh, Hannah.
Hannah.
I don't even watch it and I know it.
She has been casted in Avengers Endgame, and she is not given a character name to the public. She is playing an unknown character, and I genuinely believe that it might be Hawkeye's protege, Kate Bishop. And if they do that, then they might kind of give Hawkeye some more screen time, which that is my number one hope, to be honest. And there's also some other cool stuff, like the Endgame name is a chess move that's been going around. Everyone knows about that. But
not only that, it's one of the few things that Doctor Strange says on that one planet that they're on. It's the Endgame.
Yes. Well, there are two versions of this line ever spoken. In Avengers Age of Ultron, my favorite version, my favorite MCU movie, actually. Fight me.
It's okay.
There is a line where Tony is being called out, Iron Man is being told, you can't make killer robots. And he is defending himself saying, like, does anyone remember, like, when there was a wormhole into New York City and I flew into it? And everyone was, like, making fun of him because, oh, he mentions it too often. And everyone's brushing him off, everyone's ignoring him. He's saying, that's the end game. That up there, that's the end game. And we can fight arm dealers all the livelong day, but, like, that's going to come for us. And he's been telling everyone for years that we need to prepare for this threat. That's why Ultron was in existence, is because Iron Man is trying to protect the world. And, you know, obviously, Ultron went bad, but everyone...
But then we got Vision.
Exactly. Then we got Vision.
And then Vision got taken away from us again.
Hush. But...
And again.
Yes. There's that version of the line where he's saying, that's the end. That's the end game.
And
that's what's going to happen. And Thanos does come down, and Thanos knows Iron Man by name. And I think because Doctor Strange has usually has the Time Stone, I think he might know about that scene, or he might have seen that version, or he might just be trying to subtly tell Iron Man
It's
like it's a chess move. This is a sacrifice. This is the end game. There's only one more move to make. There's only one more piece you need to do. And he says, we're in the end game now. And those are the two versions of Endgame. And I'm very excited when they dropped that trailer and it revealed. I was not spoiled for it before I watched the trailer, so I got to see that as the same time of the world. And I'm very excited. But I do think there are sacrifices to be made, just like in a game of chess. Please don't let it be Hawkeye.
I do want to rewind a little bit before even Civil War. I think it is the Age of Ultron. You mentioned Hulk is your favorite. I wanted your opinion on the Hulk Natasha romance.
Ooh,
because
it felt kind of forced when I watched it. Like the whole Beauty and the Beast hand holding, or no, the Tarzan hand holding.
Fiona.
Yeah, it felt forced. The clock is ticking. The clock agrees with me. That's the end game right there.
Oh no.
It's the time stone we're all doing.
But I wanted to see what your opinion was on that and what you personally saw when they tried doing that, and whether you saw. I just want to know what you saw.
It felt forced. The only thing that I saw between Natasha and Bruce Banner was that they were trying to just like, I'm trying to get you to come work with me, trust me, but I didn't see any romance.
Yeah. I had my own theory about this, actually, because this is a theory section. It may not be about Infinity War, but it does tie into a portion of it. Natasha is she's a spy. Mm-hmm. She has to kind of use people.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it seemed like he was... And that in the Ultron where she pushed him over, was like, but I need the other one right now. I was like,
exactly.
It's just using him. And like, yeah. I felt more of a and this was the first time watching it with no context. I first thought that freaking Hawkeye and Natasha were gonna be a couple. Like, yeah. But that felt more realistic than the one between the Hulk.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And that is a canon thing in the comics. Mm. Yes. Like, basically in the comics, everyone except for her and Banning, or the Hulk, or whichever version.
Typically, it's not always a good thing. In Hawkeye's first outing, the first thing that happens to him is basically he runs into some supervillainy. And I do mean he accidentally stumbles into becoming a supervillain. And then while she's still a Russian spy, I'm not going to say seduces him, but she manipulates him into opposing Iron Man. And, like, that's the first time we ever see Hawkeye. First thing he ever does is he lays eyes on Natasha Romanoff and falls in love with her. And that's how long that's existed, since Hawkeye's first outing. It wasn't even a Hawkeye comic book, it was an Iron Man comic book. And like that has such such a foothold within, context, within canon, within comics.
It really shows who Natasha is too.
It really does.
Especially with how important they are to each other now. Mm-hmm. But if you don't mind me continuing. No, you're fine. Basically, what I was thinking is, you saw in the first movie that they were together, the very first Avengers. She's terrified of him.
Yeah, she didn't seem... She actually showed fear for someone.
She had a legitimate panic attack.
Like, she faked it with Loki to get him to say what happened.
But she fake cries in the face of her own personal history being thrown in her face, the red in her ledger. She pretends to cry to get the information. The only time she cries in the MCU, other than that scene, is when the Hulk comes at her like an avalanche and she has to run for her life, and she's sitting in the rubble of the ship that he's destroyed, and she's crying, she's genuinely tears, weeping,
and not even hiding it. Like, she's not even
she's
trying
curled
to
into the fetal position, lying in broken glass.
And she's not putting a show for anyone.
No. And then, the next Avengers movie, they're dating. But Renee's brought up that her and, why did I just forget his name? The director.
Joss Whedon?
No, not director of the movie. The
director
of
Fury.
Fury.
They were having words, and it just to a spy, there's something that we can tell. We know that what they're saying isn't what they mean, and it's. I think every movie tries to put romance in it.
Yeah.
And it always seems forced. But I think this one might have been a little bit purposeful. I don't think Banner knows.
Because she might have been just using him.
Exactly. Using him, and the thing about it is, in this romance, the sun's getting real low. The cheesiest line to ever be spoken in any Marvel movie. Even Ragnarok makes fun of it. But it's the lullaby. She is the one who can control him. She won't be chased down the hallways anymore. She won't have to sit in that rubble and cry anymore because she knows she's gotten into Banner's head. She's gotten under the Hulk's skin. And that's her position of power. That's always been her position of power. The first time we ever see Natasha Romanoff, she's going under, I think, Natalie something. And she's spying on Iron Man. It's Iron Man 2, and she's the spy.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes for the, not necessarily the romance card, but she uses, the seductress kind of vibe to get information to, kind of get in the good with, Tony Stark. And this has always been her number one card. She's the Black Widow. It's her thing. Mm-hmm. Putting her into a romance. The name is a reason. Putting her into a romance. It's never a romance. And I don't think it should be seen that way. I don't think it's a canon ship. I think that was just the spy, terrified of the Hulk, finding a way
to not be terrified of the Hulk.
To not be terrified and to not be threatened by him anymore.
But the thing is, even then, we see in Infinity Wars when Banner walks into the room, Natasha's face. You can't tell me
her face does fall. It's not this, my love has returned.
Every person who has ever had anxiety.
It's like, crap, there's the person I tried to get with or something.
Yeah.
Not like get with romantically.
It's not that awkward, it's that terror. It's
if you've ever had anxiety, if you've even, come to something you fear, when it walks into the room or you walk up to it, you know that feeling, where your heart feels like it sinks into your stomach.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can
and there was no other talking between them after that. Mm-hmm. They did not talk at all.
She visibly avoids him.
Yep.
She's not saddened by the fact that he can't turn into the Hulk.
I think it's Sam that says it, well, this is awkward. And he wasn't in Age of Ultron. He wasn't introduced, I don't think, at that point. He just knows he can read this super spy by body language. Well, this is awkward. And it's... I don't think the romance was ever a romance. I think it was a spy ploy. And...
Because it gives... With a name, it's a given. It feels like it.
Yes. Yeah. And also, really quickly, with the... Clintasha is the ship name. Clint and Black Widow. There is quite a lot of evidence that they have been together in the past and that they may end up together.
The necklace?
Yes, the necklace, that, and in Age of Ultron, she's actually wearing his clothes.
Even though she, Clint has a family, it's just like there's still history.
And they show that. The Endgame trailer has heavily insinuated that he lost them in the snap. That's why
the fan art, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's also Natasha was very much part of that family. Whether
they named the child after him, and look, I'm not gonna bring any queer agenda, but also Laura didn't seem like the kind of person that was totally against having a third person in the relationship, a throuple, if you will.
The one that I was going to say jokingly was because the whole the forced relationship between Natasha and the Hulk, I was going to say Hulk and Thor had more of a connection than,
to be honest.
Tony and Thor and Tony and Bruce Banner had more of a connection than Natasha and Hulk.
I think it's like they chose the two complete opposites, the two people that shouldn't even be in the same room together, and it was just lock them in a barn. Something will happen.
Tony was the one who was so surprised and relieved to freaking see freaking Bruce Banner himself. Like, Bruce.
Mm-hmm. I'm not to make this into an Age of Ultron apologist video, but there's also a scene a lot of people point out as very poorly done, very poorly handled, where it's Natasha telling Bruce, "Oh, I'm a monster because I can't have children." She doesn't care about that.
And she really doesn't.
She genuinely has never cared about that, and there are certain comic books where she does have children, and it's like, it's not the biggest deal.
It kind of seems forced when you say it like that. It's like,
especially
it
that
kind of
she's telling
dehumanizes
someone
people.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, she's not, like we said, if you look at it under the fact that she's not being honest, it very, very, very heavily resembles the scene of you got red in your ledger and she pretends to cry just to get information out of Loki. Like, she doesn't care. That's not where you're going to hurt her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are her.
But the Thor... sorry. Banner has always thought of himself as a monster. Like, he's always, like, he doesn't want to be seen that way. But people have always seen him that way. And now she's comparing herself to saying something that's thrown at him so often. And she's saying it to herself.
Uh-huh. And it's, like we keep trying to say, it's a manipulation tactic.
Yeah, it feels
sorry
like
if you ship it. You are perfectly allowed to, but...
Yeah.
It's
with Natasha, it's never that easy.
Everyone has their opinions on it. That's basically what we're trying to say. Please don't sue us.
I just wanted to pull it back a little bit because I think that's a very it's a cool theory. It takes out a lot of the problems I had with people with that relationship, because it takes it, instead of being this like forced thing that probably just it made the movie feel off, to actually bringing it around and like building up character and plot points in the future.
That's something that I think Disney has trouble with, is like, not everyone has to be in a relationship. You can just build the character and still not have to be in a relationship.
Also, now I actually do want to bring up an in-game theory because of how many people hated Clint's farm family. His children, who, and I'm the biggest Hawkeye fan you'll ever meet in your life, I can't name his children other than Nathaniel Pietro, who is, like, given, like, a shirt that says so. He has a son and a daughter. I can't tell you their names. Sometimes I forget his wife's name, because in the comic books, he is married a lot of the time, actually. Her name is Bobby. Bobby Moores. She is
watched,
Mockingbird.
If you've ever watched, I just blanked on the show. I love that.
S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agent Bobby
Mockingbird
Moores.
from that.
Yeah, so they had her in the show, so they couldn't give her into the movie, so they made up a random character to put into Age of Ultron. So I forget her name. Is it Laura? Is it Sarah? I can't remember. She played Velma in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie, if we want to bring that back up.
I knew none of this.
Yeah, but... So I want to bring up Avengers Endgame. Actually, a theory. A lot of people think it's time travel. A lot of people think that to erase the snapping, it's going to be time travel. But I actually, personally think that they're going to use a different kind of stone. Not the green time stone, but the red reality stone. Because, like I said, a lot of people didn't like the family. And now with the snapping happening, most people think that they were dusted. And a lot of people are just fine with that. And I don't want to sound like a horrible person, but I'm kind of fine with that too. Just because his family is based off the Ultimate comic books, which is the only time he's ever had kids. And in those comic books, they died and they stayed dead. What is dead sometimes stays dead. And...
Weird for Marvel?
Yes.
Okay.
And if they do the time stone and the snapping never happens, then everyone's brought back. But if they use the reality stone and they bring an alternate universe, perhaps Earth 616, probably won't be 616 because they don't want to mess with the comic books, but Earth 9998 instead of 9999, they bring that and they merge the two universes, because maybe the snap happened in both. Maybe one half exists and one half exists, but maybe it's not everyone. Maybe they can bring back almost everyone that was lost, for both universes and just combine those two but maybe there's still a few here and there, and someone, there's still sacrifices to be made, because the world needs the Guardians, the world needs, or not the world, but the universe needs the Guardians, the world, dang, I keep saying world.
It's okay.
New York
needs Spider-Man.
I have
but
just
maybe Hawkeye still loses his family, and that's a sacrifice that needs to be made. Maybe, neither universe, still contains, I don't know, Loki or Gamora, and those are just the sacrifices.
So that he's never sacrificed.
I feel like just to reverse the ending of Infinity War will
take a lot of sacrifice.
It will take out a lot of the ending. Like, it won't mean anything at all anymore to just reset it. What would be the point if you're just going to start off in the first few minutes of Infinity War and it's the same, just with time travel? But with the alternate reality, I think there's so much more to chew on. And I think there's so much more kind of footing to, continue from. It's a better foundation, in my opinion.
What were you going to say there?
Oh,
I had another point.
I'll let you go ahead and then I'll finish
sure.
off with the final point.
Okay, because I just wanted to bring up, because you brought up the Reality Stone, which can change reality, obviously. Doesn't Wanda have something similar to that?
Incredibly similar.
She was the one who's able to destroy the stone in Vision's.
Yes. She's immortal. She's a mortal being with the power to destroy an infinity universe. Or an infinity stone.
But the thing is, she can create, too.
She can.
Doesn't
she can create,
actually have children, if I remember correctly. She creates them.
Yep. She thinks children into existence.
Which, if I want to get very sad, could mean I don't think they're going to do it. But if you want to play off of that, she could just imagine nothing happened. She didn't disappear.
Yes, she did. She got dusted.
She did? Oh,
or what if they bring her back and have her do it?
She knew she would get dusted too. She felt it, and she just continued to sit by Vision's body, and she continued.
But they could
dusted.
bring her back, which means if she's brought back, and not everyone is, like, if you say that, like, they could bring back the important people, and what if she just doesn't want to bring back
you're
people,
right.
like the people she doesn't know? Like, she's not close to Hawkeye. Why would she bring back his family? She brought back her important people.
You're wrong.
I know. I don't know as much about Hawkeye as you do.
Wanda and Hawkeye, from the comic book perspective, are very, very close. And within the MCU, he is personally very protective of her. And his child is named after her twin. But
the twin that saved.
Yeah, I know in the comic books he is in love with her, but
he used to be.
Oh yeah, he used to be. He died for her.
Yeah.
We're
not gonna bring up that.
This obviously hasn't happened in the movies.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she would necessarily care.
But that does bring up an interesting point of if the Reality Stone is obtained through some sort of means, and the two universes are combined, maybe neither has Vision, because Vision was killed manually. Vision wasn't snapped away. Maybe she just brings him back because that is kind of
because they still have the stone.
Our love.
Because even if she can't recreate a stone, they have a stone.
Yeah.
She could just be like, "Hey guys, this is Vision," and then be like, "Excuse me."
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it.
I've got one to close off, and this is a joke, obviously, but here's how I think the end game's gonna go. So they're needing a plan. They need someone to go get the Infinity Gauntlet. Who's the one mofo out there who'll do it? He walks into the freaking room. He's like, "Listen here, you dipshits. I can't curse in this move, but you know what? You took my girlfriend away, and I just spent a whole movie getting her back. Deadpool's gonna come over here and machete you, mother."
Okay, look.
Okay, I'm literally wearing a Deadpool shirt right now, and if that happened, I would legitimately cry in theater, and he would also make a remark where everyone would be confused about not being able to curse. And then everyone would just be like...
He drops the one F-bomb that's allowed in the movie. Or someone steals it from him.
Rocket would steal it from him.
And he's like, "Damn it!"
And then Deadpool would murder Rocket.
And that's how Rocket Raccoon dies.
And that's what we got, Detective Pikachu. Good night, everybody. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give this episode a thumbs up. And just look forward to next time. So Thanks, everyone, and have a great day, my lovelies.